Hi to everybody that's just joining us. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome to the March 2021 general meeting for the Upper Pinellas Amateur Radio Club. My name's Jack. I'm the president of the club and I'll be leading the meeting. We are going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So for anyone who would like to stand and join us, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to move on to introductions. As I said, my name's Jack Kinney. I am the president for 2021 for UPark, and I will let the other officers introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Alan Streitman, Vice President, W4UB.
Yes, good morning. Trying to read my screen here. This is Dee Hooker, Secretary. Good morning, everyone.
Jeff DeGrasse, K4JJD, and I am your treasurer.
Good morning, everybody. Jason Esterline, N4BOZ, member at large.
All right, thanks, guys. We're going to move on to a new slide. I realize this is probably something that we hadn't been doing, but we've had a couple of new members join since our last meeting.
You need it to shut off.
In alphabetical order, we'd like to welcome Sean Dulcos, and apologies if I mispronounce anybody's name. Tim Matheson and Ryan Rager have all joined the Upper Pinellas Amateur Radio Club since we last met. So welcome. We appreciate you joining, and hopefully we'll be able to meet you in person sometime soon. Get together for some fun activities.
Very good.
Whoop. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and do regular member introductions and any guests. Let's see. I don't know who wants to start. Let me go get this thing all done. Hey, Uncle Ken, why don't we start with you?
Okay, my name is Ken Martins. I'm living in Dunedin. My call sign is WK4KM.
Glenn.
Glenn Panazola, N4ESU, currently being held hostage in Brooklyn, New York.
Tim, AA4WH.
Yeah, I noticed they have the, my name is Tim Matheson. I do live here in Dunedin and change the call to Alpha 4 Whiskey Hotel.
Oh,
I see it's still on the old call. There you go.
yeah, I pulled that out of the email registration when I thought about doing this. So yeah, I was wondering because I didn't recognize you and I was like, So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Jerry.
Jerry Pollock, WR6N, Palm Harbor. Good morning.
Good morning. Original Ken.
Hey, this is Ken Sure, KO4V in Countryside. Good morning, everybody.
Mark.
Yep, Mark Opid, Olsmar, KN4YQC.
Ryan Rager.
Hey, good morning. This is Ryan. I'm Palm Harbor, call sign KO4, Kilo Golf Papa. Good morning. Nice to be here.
Yeah, well, nice to have you, and thank you for joining the club. Mr. Shuey.
Dave Shuey, Palmetto, WA3VRE. Good morning, everyone.
Wesley.
Good morning. It's Wesley Horn. I'm in Palm Harbor, K4WLH.
Mike Branda.
Hey, Mike, K4HN, Palm Harbor.
Good morning, Ray.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Ray Baker, seasonal resident of Tarpon Springs, and glad to be able to make one of the Zoom meetings.
All right, well, we know who Jason is, so we'll skip over. We don't want to talk to him anyway. Captain Ken.
Ken Skaggs, and I'm in the unincorporated part of Pinellas County in the North Wedge off of Keystone, Whiskey, Quebec 3 Victor. Good morning.
And finally, Ron.
Good morning. This is Ron, W4 RFA in Palm Harbor. Hello, everybody.
And I have to say that introductions are a lot easier when we're at the fire station and it just kind of organically goes around the room. All right, we're going to go on. We're going to move on to officer reports. D. Hooker is our secretary and he handles our minutes. And I will say I posted the minutes with lots of time for you to read them. D sent them to me like 2 weeks ago and I apologize. I forgot to post them. They are on the website. There's also a link in the forum. I don't know, has anybody had a chance to look at the minutes beyond the board? Okay, our resident parliamentarian, I don't see him on here, but I'm just going to move on with if no one has any corrections to the minutes, they will be approved as distributed to the website. Any objections?
Nope.
Okay, we'll call it so approved. And we will now move on to our treasurer report with Jeff DeGrasse.
Okay, good morning, all. February was a short month, and it was actually a relatively quiet month compared to January when when all of the yearly dues were due. So we'll start with our income. We had $89.59 income. We had a bank dividend of 9 cents. So for the month of February, our total income was $89.68. Now, in terms of expenses, they were pretty light in February as well. We had no PayPal fees. We have had waive fees of $3.69, and that is the total of the month. And let's see, now in terms of our balances in the Achieve It checking, we have a total of $914.66. Our Achieve It savings has $2,382.68. Our petty cash has remained at $142, and I need to go ahead and deposit some of that into the bank, just get it off my hands, I think. Our PayPal balance was $147.87. So totaling everything up, we have a grand total of $3,587.21. Now, we have a nice increase in the membership, and we have a total of 56 paid members at this current time. And that's it. Do I have any questions I might answer?
All righty, well, thank you, Jeff, for your report.
Okay.
And we're going to move on to committee reports, and we'll start with Alan because he gets the bulk of the reports. You're on mute, Alan.
Am I muted?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
That's interesting. I pushed the space bar and it didn't seem to actuate me. Good morning again, everybody. I'm going to talk about the repeater a little bit and some of the ancillary hardware associated with it. Repeater's been working normally, haven't received any reports of issues. As stated last month, and probably for a couple of months before that, we need to get to the fire station and check out the ham WAN. I believe well, we have to reboot it, at least cycle power on it. I guess Tom is reporting he's not seeing it, it's not communicating. And we've been also carrying Echolink for a while. And once again, as soon as the Palm Harbor Fire Station allows us access, we'll be able to get that capability online. And that's pretty much it, other than encouraging everybody to use the repeater. I think many of us have commented that traffic appears to be light.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that the two number one users of the repeater are Ray and Carl. Those are the two people, if I have it on, I generally hear. So it would be nice if we could get some more people on the repeater. You know, we all have cell phones and text messages, and they're not needed quite as much as I suppose maybe they once were. But, you know, we have a nice system, and it's up and running. The repeater team works hard to keep it going. So it'd be nice to hear some additional traffic on it. So now we'll move on to Club Nets again with Alan.
For the month of February, we had 4 nets. I assume you're hearing me, guys.
Yep.
Good. All right. I did hear some background noise. In any event, we had 4 nets. Ken had 14. Jason seems to be the winner of the informal contest with 17. Much to Jack's dismay. He had 14.
He pulled out all the stops too. Like he posted on the website. He did everything.
Oh yeah, Facebook. He was everywhere. Twitter. Joke. And Jerry had 12 for a total of 57. Our club nets are held every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on the U Park repeater at 147.120 megahertz with a positive offset of 600 kilohertz and a PL tone of 100 hertz. And after the net, we QSY to 146.575 and continue a rag chew on simplex. And then if the spirit moves us, we'll continue that on 40 meters, 7.282 at approximately 8:45. I'd like to encourage everyone to think about becoming a net controller. We could always use more hands here. You'll find it rewarding. It's an interesting experience that can prepare you for emergency communications in the future. There's a net script on the forum. If anybody's interested, please contact me. There'll be at toward the end of the presentation, you'll see an email address for VP. By all means, let me know if you're interested. Next slide.
All right, we're on to my social events, which is a carryover from the old days before I was an officer. We have our weekly Traders and Trivia Net that Alan was just talking about. Maybe in March, one of the net controllers can get more than 17 people and put Jason in his place. That would be an excellent an event to see. Also this month, there's the QSO Today Expo, March 13th to 14th. And that's about it on the social media front, thanks to our friend COVID, which has stomped a lot of things that we had going on. As it comes to announcements, in addition to net controllers, we're always looking for people to volunteer to do tech presentations. We have open slots in April, May, July, August, September. November's iffy. Typically, we don't have one because generally before COVID, we're having a picnic. So kind of hard to do the tech presentation then, and December. So if you have any interest in doing a technical presentation that has to do with amateur radio or really, any kind of communications, I'm open to anything that has communications in it. Give me a shout. Again, you'll see some email addresses at the end of the meeting. We'd love to have you. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. There is, if you need to do any license testing, there's Laurel VE testing offered by CARS, which is on the second Monday of each month from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Clearwater Fire Training Facility, where we do summer field day and winter field day generally. 1716 North Belgium Road, Clearwater. You're going to want to email Mike Branda. Is this you? Is that your email address?
No, I'm not doing the echo there, but just let you know the March session is full. We got a bunch of standbys, but the April session is still open.
Yeah, we tried to go kind of put in when the next session was, but it's kind of hard for us because they're a different club to keep track of when it's filled up and when it's open. So reach out to the email address that you see on the slide there if you need a reservation, but please do note that walk-ins are not allowed. And then I know there was some commentary on this last time about the FCC. I don't recall if they actually officially reduced the licensing fee to $35 or that was on the slate of things to talk about reducing it to $35. But administrative changes like changing your address and things are free. So I'm not sure where that landed, but you know, could be if you have to do any kind of change, you're likely to incur a fee. There were some people talking, and the club is going to do a shirt order. It's been a while since we've done one of those. You can see the sizes and price availability below. The shirts, and we do need to get some more detail on the shirts, what they look like, color choice, etc. This was kind of thrown in at the last minute, but you get the shirt, your name and call sign under the UPark logo. So if you have interest, contact Alan, W4UB. Again, you can use the VP email address that you'll see at the end of the presentation. He's going to kind of, oh, okay, Alan's wearing, Alan, are they going to be like that?
Yes,
Like
they will. They'll also be available in different colors.
Okay, so it's a polo. Generally, they're white. I recall there was also a light gray option. I don't remember any colors beyond that. But
Yeah, there's a bunch of colors. I think I have that information. I'll send it, or maybe Jack, the best place to put it would be on our website.
yeah, if you, Alan, if you could get me the color choices, that would be terrific, and I'll just put up a page on the website with all the information.
Will do.
But we'll get that put together and contact Alan. We'll kind of pool all those together so it goes in at once, and we can get some new shirts hopefully for when we're all together again. Does anybody have any other announcements?
The only thing I want
no, but we have a hand raised there. I don't know if it's intentional or not.
Oh.
Oops, sorry. Hey, it is. Real quick question on the shirts, if I can.
Okay.
Can we provide our own shirt?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think Tom NY4I did that last time.
I've done it already. So you can do that. I'll get a price for that. It'll be somewhere between $5 and $10.
Okay, thank you.
Embroidering.
I bet Captain Ken wants a fishing shirt. If I had to put my money on it.
I'm not taking that bet.
No. Dang it. All righty. Does anybody else have any other announcements?
Yeah, I have something else I wanted to add. I've been having a discussion with the deputy chief of the fire station on allowing us to put up an HF antenna that would be essentially a wire, an end-fed half-wave antenna that would, one end would be connected to the tower, and it would, the other end would be a sloper, would be anchored on the roof. He is working with the chief on this, and the status is that the firehouse insurance company wants to do an inspection of the tower, and he doesn't want us to do anything until that inspection occurs. So I'm hoping to get some positive feedback in the next couple of months on our ability to erect that antenna. And that would allow us to connect an HF radio in the training room, as well as use that for the EOC. And that's all I have, Jack.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so if you, well, for those who it's their first meeting, or if you haven't been here a while, we had a generous donor who donated a Kenwood TS570, Alan?
Yes.
That TS570. Someone else also donated an antenna. That radio, as Alan said, will be used for the EOC, but also with the HF antenna would allow us to actually have that radio or one that we bring in to into the community room where we typically meet, so that we could do practical presentations. Like when you want to do, I did one on FT8 via Zoom. It's a piece of cake because all my stuff's here, but we couldn't do that at the fire department. So if we can, get all that set up, that's going to be great, because then we can actually do some live, radio in the room, which would be terrific. So there is a standing notice. The Fire Station 65 is closed to visitors until further notice. It is a department by department policy. So even though like where CARS meets down at the Clearwater Fire Training Center, they are open, Palm Harbor is not until such time as they decide that they're going to open the environment to us or anyone else. So we're going to move on to our tech presentation. This month's tech presentation is Antique Radio Restoration. It's going to be given by W4DCH, the secretary of our club. And Dee, do you need to, I assume, share your screen?
Yes, let me fire up that PowerPoint. I wanted to ask, before I struggle with that, I was going back through the previous minutes history of the club, and I know one of the functions of the secretary is to keep up with a roster of members. And I guess I was just curious who or where that's being done now.
Hey, Jason, I'll let you speak to that, but that would typically used to be in the club Dropbox, but now I'm guessing we're going to say, is Wave going to be the authoritative source?
Well, no, probably not. We'll still probably maintain the roster, I would imagine, the same way that we have. Because the thing about Wave, which for those of you who don't know is our cloud-based accounting system, when somebody's no longer even a current member, if they have transactions, in other words, they paid for a membership or, bought something or whatever through the club, they've been invoiced and paid, you can't just delete them. So
that's a good point.
Right. So we really need to, and we can't do that obviously for compliance purposes for the 501c3. So I don't think that Wave is I don't think that's a good way to keep the membership. So we'll probably just keep it in a spreadsheet, keep it current, add those people to the accounting system when it's time to invoice them, whatever. So I don't see any big change. So D, the answer is that it's still on Dropbox in the UPark folders, and I think it's even got its own folder. So you're welcome to reference it. And to date, I think it's kind of a collaborative effort to keep it up to date. Jeff and I work on it. In the past, Glenn's worked on it, Alan's worked on it. So we just kind of keep it up to date. It's not real difficult. We don't have a lot of changes every month. So.
Okay, great.
I would like to add to that discussion, if I may. The traditional membership list allows us to archive members so that we can maintain their data when they're not a member, but they are taken out of the main list and put in archive list. So and it makes it very easy for us to count up active numbers and also to track dates, knowing when are dues owed by certain people and so forth. So it does a little bit more than invoicing, but it does a very good job of tracking the status of the membership and all. So it's very helpful. Okay.
Great, thank you.
All righty, Dee, you should be able to share whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Should have a green button that says share screen with an up arrow above it at the bottom of your Zoom window.
Okay.
And you probably need to make sure that your mouse is in the Zoom window, because when it's not, that kind of function bar disappears at the bottom. Jason, do we have to make him presenter or anything? Or can he just share?
If he's not, yes, you do have to make him presenter. If he's just a participant, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm sorry.
Apologize, everyone. We probably should have done a little pre-game test with this.
That's good. It takes some of the pressure off, you know?
All right, so nobody else do anything funky. There you go, D. You should be able to share your screen. So you click the green share screen, then it'll pop up a window with some different options. Usually it's the top left option if you're on a computer, and then once you click that, then you click share screen button. And
Okay, I've got the window that has the everybody's picture, says recording. I can leave, I can stop video, mute, more.
There's not an icon at the bottom in that bar where it says participants chat, share screen, record, and reactions. Do you see that? Do you see that icon ribbon bar that has the share screen in the middle of it?
No.
At the bottom of your screen, you don't see where you see leave. You don't. Where do you, the ribbon bar at the bottom where you see leave? Do you not see share screen in there? Down your bottom of your screen. You're looking all over your screen. Bottom of your screen. You have leave. You have mute. You have start video, and in the middle it should say share screen. Does it?
Just getting my cursor from my presentation back to Zoom seems to be the challenge right now.
For your guys' information, Steve, N4FOY here. I see share screen at the bottom. Are we sure we chose D?
Yeah, I do.
Everybody has the ability to share their screen.
I see it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I realized after I said
I'll
that.
be quiet.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so what I would suggest is stop your presentation. If you're in presenter mode, stop that, because that's messing you up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
stop that, and then now go to Zoom and look at the bottom. Move your cursor down, and you should see the ribbon bar, and in the middle you should see share screen.
Yeah, and in the chat, I also put a picture of what it looks like. But D, Tom is correct. Like, you'll notice, like, when my slides, I'm not in presenter mode, and it's because it gets really strange trying to do Zoom and PowerPoint presenter mode simultaneously.
Yeah, with one monitor, you really need to. It's harder to do it with one monitor if you're using one monitor.
Okay, I got my mouse back. That's a good sign.
All right, so bottom of your screen, do you see the same place where you see leave and mute and start video? Do you see in the middle where it says share screen? I'm gonna say, take a picture of your screen, send it to us. Nah, I mean, you should see it then. I'm not sure why you wouldn't see it.
Can you do it for me through Zoom?
No, we can't.
I see chat, meetings, contacts.
Chat, meetings,
Alternatively, D, if you want to email the presentation to me, I can put it up.
Okay. If I told you it was on Dropbox, would that help?
No, he doesn't have rights to it unless you shared it on Dropbox.
Well, I put it under the presentations for March.
If it's in the club, yeah, if it's in the club Dropbox, I can get it.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
Now
your own.
let me go get in there, D. Well, hold on. I feel like I need a 1960s era technical difficulties image, from television.
So D, I'm curious, at the bottom of your screen, do you see the little microphone that says mute? Do you see that?
No.
You don't, I'm not sure what, you're in Zoom, right? You're in the Zoom application?
Yeah, you want me to hit more? I got more, chat.
I don't know, I've never seen more.
Nor have I.
Invite, chat, reactions, record on this computer, stop video.
What computer are you using, by the way? While Jack's pulling up the presentation, what computer are you using?
HP.
No. Is it Windows? Is it what is it?
10, Windows 10.
What version of Zoom are you using?
Oh, that's a good question too. I'm just curious. I mean, it's always been down there at the bottom right there. So. Hey, while you're waiting, D, while you're waiting for Jack to pull up the presentation, do you have a cell phone you can take a picture of?
Sure.
I'm curious. Take a picture of that. Take a picture of your monitor and send it to me if you don't mind. I'm just curious what you're seeing because other people may experience the same problem. I'd like to know what to solve that problem is.
Sounds like he's in the actual application where you set up the meetings, but not in the Zoom meeting screen with all the video.
I agree. Yeah, it sounds like you're in the property. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly right. I think that's the case. So
Does he not even show? Does he not even show the mute button? What? You can't even see the mute button?
Yeah, he said he didn't. So I think whoever just said that, I think he's in the settings of Zoom instead of just in the application of Zoom.
Yeah, I've got mute, stop video, more, leave.
Good. Right. You don't see share screen in the middle there?
Green. With a screen.
No.
At the
possible
bottom.
he's using the web interface instead of the application?
I think Jason messed something up. That's my guess.
Hey Jack, how you doing on that, Jack? You downloaded yet?
I haven't found it in Dropbox yet. I'm in.
All right.
D, I went under UPark meeting presentations 2021. There's 3 folders and all of them are empty.
D, can you just email it to Jack, please? That'd be the quickest thing.
I don't think it's going to be emailable. It's too big.
All right.
Too big.
Do I have it, D? Do I have the latest one?
Yeah.
Let me see if I could find it.
Yeah, it's almost like D. I mean, it's almost. I mean, I've never done that, but does Zoom still have a web interface where you can just use the web interface without actually having the app on it? Or I thought you had to have the app.
I mean, it seems
No, I
like
think it
these
still.
days
I think
they
it still
don't
has a
even
web
have the app.
interface.
He's in a web interface. Is that what you think, Jason?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, that's the other thing I can think of. But D, you might actually. I mean, you're not going to do this right now, but just for future reference, you might actually need to go to Zoom and download the Zoom application because you can't share your screen through the. I don't believe you can share your screen through the web interface.
Okay. Yeah. When I came in, it prompts me to open the app on my PC. So I figured I was like everybody else.
And that's what you did. You told to open the app.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I say, yeah. So email that to Jack if you will, please. Or no, I'm sorry, Alan's working on that, right? Never mind. Forget the email thing.
Maybe there's something in his settings that's disabled for his his particular thing that disables share screen.
Yeah, I've never. I don't
think you
know
do
of an
that.
option to do that. Yeah, I think that's more a function of the meeting. So Alan's going to bring that up. But D, yeah, if you don't mind, take a picture of that screen. I'm curious if you can send that to me.
Are you guys seeing this?
Yes, we are.
They are.
All right. Well, sorry about the brief intermission, folks. Our first week with Zoom, apparently. It's only been a year. It's been 12 months.
So we found the last person in the world that hasn't shared a screen in Zoom. So.
Can I ask who the host is?
Why does it matter?
Why doesn't it matter?
Okay, let's get moving. D.
All right.
Take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Back to normal now. Just wanted to share a recent experience I had with an old radio, a family heirloom that came to my house finally from Virginia, and it didn't work when it arrived, and because of the good graces of my Elmer, he was able to go under the hood and get it working again. And now it's a prized possession right here in the living room. So just wanted to share that experience with you. And this is a late 1930s receiver, shortwave and AM broadcast receiver that I thought of a lot of good things to say. I'll see if I can remember some of those now. I'm sure that this radio wouldn't have survived without the cabinet it's in. And I thought about the new radios. You get basically a black metal box with the technology inside. And I guess this was back in the day when you had to sell it to the lady of the house as well. So it had to look good with the rest of the furniture and stuff. And it is a great looking cabinet. I noticed the other day you can hit the top of the cabinet and it kind of rings, sort of like a guitar. It's that solid of a cabinet. When I first got it here to the house, I made the mistake of plugging it in and turning it on, and had a little light show out of the back. I guess that was and Alan can correct me, but I think that was the rectifier.
Yeah, that was the rectifier too. Feel free to prompt me on the slides where you want to go. Right now I have can you see it? Can you see
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, I can see that.
I know you have a slide later in the presentation that shows the rectifier tube. So if you want me to go there, or I'm trying to follow you, but you're skipping all over the map here.
Okay, let's back up one just so I remember. We go back one slide. Okay.
That's the beginning.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, this radio there, and of course we'd moved on to, phonographs and handheld walkie-talkies and all the other things to distract ourselves. But the sound, when it did work, the sound was fantastic. It was probably the best sounding audio we had in the house. So I did remember that, and the tuning eye was a pretty cool thing. Okay, Alan, next slide. I think we covered that. Next slide.
There's your tuning eye.
There's the tuning eye. And I think, I didn't realize that's actually looking into a cathode ray tube, right? I mean,
yes.
It's not just a display. There's a tube behind all that. So
can I ask you a question? What's the function of that?
As those two lines at the bottom approach 6 o'clock, the closer you get those, the more centered you are on that.
It's a tuning aid, Tom. It's like an S meter.
Okay, just curious. I was just curious what it was measuring on the scope. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next slide. The first thing Alan told me was, well, we got to get some documentation on this. We have to have some specs that we can, check the tubes and make sure things are working. And I think I actually bought one set of schematics, which were unreadable. I guess there wasn't enough detail there. Once we tried to print it, it was just too blurry to actually get the voltage and everything, the different readings from the components. So Alan found that, and we found the tube that the rectifier tube that was obviously bad, and he performed his magic. And I'll let you maybe go to the next slide, Alan, and talk about that a little.
Okay, also there's some specifications here on the radio if anybody's interested. 9-tube, superhead, 455 kilohertz IF, about 10 watts worth of push-pull audio, which made it very unusual in its day. Probably gave it some good full-range audio. and covers the AM broadcast band and 14 through 18 megahertz, giving you 20 meters. There's the infamous rectifier tube, if you want to talk about it, Dee.
And I guess I was pretty lucky that that's the only thing that happened when I put power on it. And of course, the way the old power cord was, it wasn't even polarized. In other words, it would go in the plug either way. So, you know, I guess that adds a certain amount of danger to the radio, you know, how the polarity is set. So, but yeah, also, and I think that's in maybe another slide, but we fixed that cord as well.
Yeah, one thing I'll just add here. This radio had no power line fuse. And as it turned out, they were dependent upon the failure of this rectifier tube to actually remove power from the radio. Kind of an interesting philosophy. This will be covered in a couple of slides, but what happened to the radio is the technology of the day utilized wax dipped paper capacitors for both coupling and bypass. Over time, these capacitors, the paper actually turns acidic and becomes a conductor. So you have many short circuits in this radio, places where the B+ could go to ground. And that's why the rectifier tube failed. And I guess Dee got a nice light show when he plugged it in. But fortuitously, it was only $25 for new old stock, believe it or not. I'm going to the next slide, Dee.
So was it a matter of just the plug being reversed, or would it blow no matter what?
No, it wasn't a plug issue. It was clearly these capacitors you see before you now actually were shorted. So one of the ways to, if you do want to power this thing up, is to use a variac and increase the voltage very slowly. And then you could determine if, you know, you could probably rescue the tube before it fails using a variac. We didn't get a variac until after the failure, and that was courtesy of Ron. But we did use it the next time we turned it on, after it was repaired, and fortuitously there were no light shows. Go ahead, Dee.
Okay, and I was a little surprised that Stromberg Carlson actually made a lot of these components. I guess that was part of being in the radio business. They weren't just assembling parts, they were producing a lot of them. And you know, I looked at the history of the company, and I think they're probably were most famous for something they call a farmer's radio, which is the old radio you see, the crank on the side, the wooden box with the microphone sticking out. So that was one of their big products.
That's the telephone business, right?
Right.
Yeah, they were also known as a maker of telephones, and that's an interesting other part of the history. The other thing I was just going to mention, besides the capacitor, you also see that there are carbon composition resistors shown here. And carbon comp resistors are known to change value over time, and they usually increase in value. And I measured these resistors and cut them out if they were out of tolerance, and many of them had doubled in value. You'll also notice about at the bottom of the slide, kind of center, there's a strange looking component. It's actually a power resistor. They called them dog bone resistors, and they're wire wound resistors. Several of those were also replaced due to similar issues with being out of tolerance. Over to you, Dee.
We got
Okay.
a couple people with the hands raised. Can you guys take a couple questions or?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Captain Ken and Glenn both had their hands up, so one of you guys at a time, I guess.
Glenn?
Captain Ken, mine's a mistake.
My question is about what kind of antenna is used? Is it built into the box, or do you have to have an external antenna?
That is a great question. That's actually a later slide. I don't know if you want to skip ahead to that, Alan.
No.
But
Great.
Interestingly, it's it looks like a piece of brass screen, like almost a piece of sheet brass that's punched and then wrapped in cardboard and folded around inside the bottom of the box. So, much more elaborate than any radio that I've seen.
So we can't hook one of Alan's half-wave and fed half-wave.
Yes, you can. There's a terminal that the antenna connects to, a screw terminal. So you could put any kind of antenna on it.
Yeah, I actually tried putting a piece of wire on it from another shortwave receiver I have, and it didn't seem to make too much difference. And I think Alan found a couple of the time. We proved that the shortwave was working because of, I guess, a couple beacons or time signals there.
Did you guys try an Allen Ballon?
Oh boy, yeah. The wife wouldn't go for the wire across the top of the living room. She wouldn't. That's where she drew the line.
I think when you get the HF antenna in the fire station, we should bring that radio and say, this is the one we're going to hook up.
And a hand truck.
Alan, did you get the parts from Mouser?
I did get some parts from Mouser, and there was another company I found, and we'll talk about that in a later slide. We'll actually go through that.
Okay.
But another company that dealt with antique radio parts. That was very
Okay,
helpful.
cool. Thanks.
I think Ron had a question too.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, next slide, Alan.
Roger that.
Okay, this gives you sort of a view of the scary innards there. I would never touch any of that, but I noticed Alan kept one hand in his pocket, so I think that's probably pretty good advice. There's the fuse that we added, and I looked at a lot of YouTube videos, and that was one of the things that I did understand. Put a fuse in there, and that's the new cord. I think you can kind of see it's sort of an old fabric covered, looks authentic. So that was, it's all out there on the internet, right? Okay, next slide. Here's.
Want me to talk to this one, D?
Yes.
Okay. So as you can see in the before restoration picture, you'll see all of the paper oil wax dip capacitors. I'm told it's actually beeswax they use, believe it or not. You'll see a couple of the dog bone resistors littered about, also electrolytic capacitors. There's at the bottom to the left of the transformer is I believe a multi-section electrolytic paper capacitor that has a mounting bracket around the body, which is screwed to the chassis. There were also a couple of can type electrolytic capacitors that were mounted to the chassis, and all of those were replaced as well, and had to be because they were all bad. And if you move to the after picture, you'll see all of the yellow tubular capacitors. Those are film capacitors, either mylar or polyester film. Modern day replacements, they're significantly smaller in size. Fortuitously, they had long leads, and that enabled me not to have to worry about having to extend leads on capacitors because as you can see, the tubular capacity, wax paper capacitors are significantly longer. And I was personally worried that was going to be an issue. All of the electrolytic capacitors have been replaced. I don't know if you could see it well. The tubular electrolytic capacitor that was next to the transformer, you'll see a small electrolytic capacitor going right near where the tubular one was, across the pins of a tube socket. And there's several of them littered about. One of the challenges was in replacing the electrolytics was that many of them were used as mounting lugs for other components. So I had to put in several terminal strips, and they may be hard to see on this picture. So that was somewhat of a challenge. In addition, you could see the fuse holder clearly right at the top of the picture, right above the transformer. That was an easy install. And I think we used a 1 amp fuse, if I'm not mistaken. And a note about the other capacitors, the mica capacitors don't age out, so all of those were left in place. Also, as I stated before, several of the wire wound resistors were replaced with modern equivalents. One of the benefits of also changing out the carbon resistors were modern film resistors, which were used to replace them, are much quieter in audio applications. They reduce the background noise or just a hum or hiss, not hum, but hiss that one might hear in an audio stage of the radio. And does anybody have any questions on these slides? Okay.
Alan, I wanted to just ask, the tubes themselves are pretty much, well, they obviously lasted longer than most of the components. Are they pretty much
Yeah, the tubes were good. The tubes were good. We didn't have what I would call the type of tube. We didn't have a tube tester, but we couldn't have measured the efficiency of the tubes. We couldn't have measured their gain or emission. So I just was able to check the filaments on the bench with an ohmmeter, and we went with these tubes. It's conceivable that replacing them could have resulted in some improvements in receiver sensitivity and the like, but we chose not to do that at this time.
Hey, Dee and Alan, I just want to say it's a much cleaner looking radio now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is there a photo of the other side where the tubes actually are?
I don't think we included that, Jack.
Alan, is that a copper chassis? It looks like it from the
Copper
picture.
plated steel.
Okay.
Yeah, Stromberg Carlson was known to be sort of the Cadillac of these radios, and they really produced something with the intent of maintainability. And even the chassis had handles on it, so you could actually lift it out of the cabinet.
Oh, you mean Cadillac in a good way there, right?
I'm talking about an old school Cadillac.
Okay, thank you. Just double checking. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say, everything's on YouTube. There's one whole video on restoring. I don't know if you noticed the little shock mounts, and I'm sure there's good reasons.
Rubber
that,
feet, yeah.
Alan could explain why you want to keep the vibration away from the components, but the guy spends the whole video restoring, and it looks like a piece of leather, some, whatever material they had, and that turns to dust. The guy spent the whole video restoring those shock mounts.
Yeah, if you see them in the corners, you'll see that they're cracked. If you
Right.
look carefully.
Yeah, so just one question. You may cover this when you talk about the parts, and that's fine if it's later. But there is a there's quite a few. When you look on YouTube, there's quite a few really good restorers, and there's always this argument about when you restore something, do you try to replace it with a part that either is functionally looks like the part or not? And there's always that argument. I'm just curious, in your research, does anybody make is there an effort for people that they try to make the take the capacitors, for example, capacitors that sort of look like those capacitors, but they're not. So if you open the thing up, it would almost look the same as it did before you started, but with modern tolerances and whatnot.
Yes and no. I'll answer it this way. I'll give you some more detail. So for these wax paper capacitors, no. So the individuals who are truly doing not only an electrical, but I would say a cosmetic type restoration, actually hollow out these old capacitors. They salvage them. They remove the innards and put a modern capacitor inside of it. And they go through a lot of machinations to make this thing resemble the original part. They also, but they do sell can type electrolytics. They're quite expensive, but some restorers are known to actually cut those cans open and put modern day electrolytics in them as well. And we chose not to go that route for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah, I understand that completely.
Okay.
So I'm not one of the purists. I think it's I mean, we're not at the level of taking the tubes out and putting transistors in,
Right. We even thought about replacing that rectifier tube with a solid state equivalent. I could have easily crafted a bridge rectifier solid state system on a couple of terminal strips and replace the tube. But an example of doing that, it would create some other issues for us because the voltage drop is far lower across solid state devices. And I would have had to put dropping resistors in the B+ line, so it would not result in an over voltage condition. So things like that get a little hairy.
It's also a bit heretical in this type of restoration to go that far, I think. So
I agree. Okay, next slide. That's yours, Dee.
Okay. Yeah, I was quite amazed at the speaker. I didn't expect to see some sort of a coil behind the speaker like that, but that's I guess before we had permanent magnets, that's how speakers work. And I also ran across something on YouTube, I believe it was, where they call that a humbucker, which I don't know, it sounds like a guitar thing to me, but I guess some filtering going on there too.
Yeah, well, they were very clever about how they use this electromagnetic coil. So they used it as a filter choke. And as a result of putting it in series with the B+, it did reduce the hum. It enabled them to reduce the value of the filter capacitors when they used it this way. And it also, of course, provided power for the magnet. And largely, we didn't have the technology at this point in time to manufacture magnets, non-electromagnets that had enough, I guess, magnetic flux density to power the speaker, and that came later. I think that happened at some point in the late 40s and early 50s.
Wow, so we went all the way through the war with speakers like that.
Probably, yeah.
I think the moral of that story, I think, is if you approach an old radio like that, assume voltage is everywhere until you know better. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As
who would expect voltage to be on a speaker coil? So.
Yeah.
One thing though, the sound quality was amazing on those old radios. They were really good.
Did you guys have any problem with the speaker cone decomposing?
No, the cone was in excellent shape. We were fortunate.
Wow.
Yeah. I was more concerned. Yeah, I was actually, if this thing had been improperly handled, they're very vulnerable. And we were very careful after we removed it from the cabinet about making sure that it didn't come in contact with anything. But I was really surprised at how sturdy it was, just as you are.
Yeah, I was couldn't help but think, someday, 80 years from now, will somebody be trying to restore an ICOM 7300? Probably not. The other thing that I came across, and I was a little disappointed this radio didn't have it, was Stromberg had a what do they call it, acoustic labyrinth speaker, which was a baffled speaker. I guess the higher end radios actually had a pretty fancy system for baffling the speaker. This one didn't have that, but that was a selling point.
Yeah, and several of you audio aficionados might have remember that was a technology that actually extended into modern speakers, and some manufacturers called it an acoustic waveguide.
Is that something that you could source and you could swap out the speaker, or did the radio have to be designed around that specific speaker?
For this labyrinth thing we're talking about, yes, I believe it was optimized for the speaker.
And Alan, Bose, right, is known for their waveguide speakers, right, to this day.
Better audio through marketing.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't know that. I can't answer that question. I have other thoughts on Bose that I think Tom echoed, but other than that,
I have a Bose headset on right now, but yeah, that's besides the point. Yeah, but yes, go ahead. Yeah, Steve, true point. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Steve.
And I don't think Alan has any Bose speakers in his house, so.
No.
I
don't. We at one time we referred to him as Blows as opposed to Bose.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Next slide.
Next slide. Cool.
How are we doing for time?
Time is what, about 5 after 11?
This is a great presentation. Keep going.
It's raining. Where's everybody going? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
All right, there's the infamous brass screen. Oh, you can almost see it.
Okay, yeah, there's the top side. And I guess the good news was the transformers were okay. I remember Alan making a point that if there was a problem there, that could be a deal breaker. So
yeah, the audio output transformer looked like it had been replaced. And I had concern that it might not be viable, and was happy that turned out to be unfounded. As I said, this uses a push-pull output stage, and that transformer was very rare. It uses two 6V6s, which, if anybody remembers the 6L6, were lower powered versions of the 6L6, which is sort of a famous tube to hams in that many individuals, many novices started with transmitters that use 6L6s. So if there's any old timers in here, they probably remember them. You could use the 6V6 as well. Back to D.
Oh, and one of the improvements we made in the version of this presentation is I pointed out the plug that used to be hanging off the back there. They actually were that was a big selling point, was this: you could hook a phonograph to this radio. So next slide, please.
I don't know if you could see this antenna screen here, guys. That's where it is. Can you see my cursor, the mouse? Good. Thank you for shaking your head, Glenn. Yeah, this is the cardboard that it lives in. And it all got stuffed in here at the bottom of the cabinet. And that, I believe, here is the antenna terminal strip that you can connect an external antenna to as well. The cool thing was this actual phono connector. So this radio actually had a preamplifier built in it for a phono that they actually made, of course, and wanted to sell you.
That back wasn't open like that. There's a piece that covers that stuff.
No, that's the way it is, right, D? There's
Right,
no
yeah.
other cover over that, is there?
No, that's it. I mean, I guess you had to keep it up in the corner to keep the kids out of the back of
Yeah,
it.
keep the kids out of that back. for
Yeah,
sure.
that's why you had so many kids. You're probably going to lose one or two to the electronics in the house. Huh?
They were expendable.
Jason's mom used to pull it out from the wall and hope to play with it.
Send him back there first.
I was the youngest of 8, so yeah, you're right, Glenn.
Wow.
I'm guessing that open space back there, considering the cabinet was wood, do you think was that for ventilation?
I believe it's required, actually, precisely for that. This thing generated some heat with those tubes.
And you can't replace the smell it makes when all that dust gets hot in there. It's really you can't put that in a candle, you know. Okay, all right.
So I don't know if there's a video in here in my version. There is. So this is a interesting picture of me with my COVID gear on in the throes of aligning this radio. And I'll talk about that before I show you the movie, because the video, it doesn't have much information in it. But well, let's do the video first. You're actually listening to the signal generator coming out of the speaker. And as you watch the oscilloscope, I'm adjusting a trimmer capacitor, I believe. And I peaked that adjustment. And I don't know specifically what I was aligning here. I don't remember. But Dee captured this kind of unbeknownst to me. And in any event, thanks to Dave Shuey, who lent us an oscilloscope and an RF signal generator, we were able to go through and align the IF stage, the mixer oscillator stage, and the RF stage. There were quite a few adjustments here. And the one that really seemed to be off the most was the IF stage. There were 2 IF transformers, a total of 4 adjustments. And since I no longer had the correct alignment tool, I had to take, if you look at my mouse cursor here, I had to take a wooden rod and make essentially a tuning wand out of it using my knife, because you need something that's non-conductive, especially when you're going near these trimmer capacitors that are probably connected to B+ and adjusting their screws. And that all went well. And here's sort of a shot of the top of the radio. One thing that we didn't mention to date was the fact that this radio actually, much like the old car radios, had push buttons on the front that you can preset to your favorite stations, which was quite a cool feature. You can see here one of the electrolytic capacitors that I left in place that is actually non-functional, one of these can types. At the other end of the chassis, these are the two 6v6s, which are the push-pull output tubes for the audio stage. There's a IF transformer here, tuning eye tube, which is this mini cathode ray tube over there, and that's pretty much all that's worth showing. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I have two questions actually. Is that a frame that you put around it to support it while you're working on it, or is that part of the cabinet that goes into the cabinet?
That's a great question. One of the tasks I gave to Dee was because this thing was unstable and I had to turn it upside down to replace the capacitors. I asked them to build me an external frame so I could work on it.
I was the carpenter.
All right, and the other question is, are you pumping? I'm trying to read it. Are you putting 600 kilocycles into that, or on a signal generator? I'm trying to read the.
It looks like a 6, but I don't know what I think that's 6 megahertz, but and that would mean I'm actually adjusting maybe the dial frequency.
Okay. Yeah, I was keeping it historically correct. That's why I said kilocycles.
Yeah, I don't remember, Tom, exactly what measurement I was doing or what alignment I was doing.
Dave, is that first digit megahertz?
It says 0.600, doesn't it?
That's what I thought too. You're muted, Dave.
Yeah,
There you
I'm not on. Yeah, I think it might be. It looks like there might be a 0.6, so maybe it is 600 kilohertz. I can't see the frequency range knob, so.
All right, just curious. Yeah, I was curious because I know you, Alan, you had told me you had to find a 455 was it 455 kilohertz?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky in that when I found the manual, which was the complete service manual, a very detailed alignment procedure, and that was extremely valuable. It also had full troubleshooting information. It had all the voltages that you could expect on the tube pins, which are very, very valuable. And I was very fortunate. I didn't need that information because after I replaced the components and brought it up with the Variac, I saw no issues, and I had it essentially worked immediately. I had some problems with the tone control and the volume control potentiometers. They were in horrible shape, and there were no replacements available for them. I believe the volume control was tapped. I had seen this in old TV sets and there were no replacements. So I literally had to I had to remove the metal can, the backing of the potentiometers, and spray a cleaner, like a contact cleaner in there. They made it difficult. They were completely sealed. Most of the potentiometers of the day had an opening in the area of the 3 terminals where you could spray the contact cleaner in, but this one didn't. So I was lucky. I was able to revive them, but I think they're still somewhat noisy. Is that not right, Dee? Do you have any issues with the volume control?
Yeah, there's still a little bit of static when you turn it.
Yeah. You're probably going to have to live with that.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the push buttons. There's a 3-position switch there.
It's on the rear of the chassis. You can't see it in this picture.
Okay, but when you select from shortwave, broadcast, and then there's the push buttons. As soon as I switched to that, I got the Florida Highway Information station, and I looked it up on the internet, and Florida has like 100 different stations around the state to give you updates on, conditions on the Skyway Bridge, for example.
So that was AM broadcast, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that just happened to be, the preset there just happened to be a radio station in our area.
Right.
Just fortuitously.
And I wondered if anyone ever listened to that. I mean, with all the ways of finding out stuff now, that's probably not very popular.
Was there a way to pick the preset frequencies, or they were set at the factory?
No, you adjust them. They're user adjustable. There's a procedure in the manual. And I think Dee was alluding to the fact that to do that, you had to adjust the position of a 3-position sort of rotary switch in the back using a screwdriver.
I think that switch kind of self-destructed, didn't it, when we turned it, as I recall?
It did. I had to resuscitate it.
Yeah. But
Are we ready for the next slide?
Yes.
Oh, it took me to the movie again. Okay. So those of you who asked about the component sources, they're here. I found this company, Antique Electronic Supply, on the web just by doing Google searches, and was very impressed with not only what they had, their prices were fair, and they had good delivery. So I can recommend this for any of you would-be restorers. I always use Mouser Electronics. It's kind of my favorite for a variety of components. I also recommend them. And what I did find that when I was looking for these replacement film capacitors, and those are the ones that had the yellow bodies, I could not, surprisingly, I couldn't get them all from Mouser. I had to kind of, they didn't have the full range of values that Antique Radio Supply did. One of the other things I'll mention about the capacitors in general here, for these tube type radios, most of the restorers were using 600 volt bypass and coupling capacitors. So not everybody had those in stock because obviously they harken back to the days of the vacuum tube. But again, I was able to, between Mouser and Antique Electronic Supply, I was able to find everything I needed. And delivery was great. I'll just finish up this slide here then. And again, would like to acknowledge Dave Shuey for the use of the test equipment. He actually delivered this test equipment and picked it up from my QTH coming all the way from Palmetto, which was much appreciated. I know you had some business up here as well, Dave, and some Christmas lasagna deliveries to make to friends in the area. Thanks to Ron for the use of the Variac as well. And it was quite a hefty affair. I didn't take a picture of it, which we had to kind of figure out how to connect it because it had a bunch of terminals on the front with the only thing those terminals had were numbers, 1 through 4, etc. And we got that worked out, and at least we know that Ron's Variac works. This could be the last slide. It is. Let's open it up to any other questions.
I have a comment. I got to say, this is one of the best presentations that I've seen, and you guys did a hell of a job. And even for an appliance operator like me, who really doesn't understand a lot of the technical stuff, you guys did a great job. It looked like a fun project. Thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
It was really informative. I was very impressed. Very detailed, very good, Dee. Also, could we see the first slide again? I'd like to see the radio again.
Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Just
And
gorgeous.
these are the push buttons that we talked about. And you could see logos here, which it gave you the ability to put in the actual station's call signs here.
Dee, did you have to do any work to the cabinet?
No, just dusted it off, polished it up a little bit.
Okay.
A comment here from Jerry. My dad told me that when he was a kid, his parents purchased a radio, probably something like this. And it arrived, but they couldn't use it until people came to install the radio. And what that meant was they had to put an external antenna up on the roof and run a wire down into the house to make this thing work. One little funny story I'll share with you. His brother, who was a toddler at the time, was just mystified. You know, it was the first radio that any of them had ever seen. And he thought there were little people inside this box doing the talking. And at one point in time, my grandfather told him to go turn off the radio. And just as he went to turn off the radio, a voice came on the radio, said, "Don't touch that dial." And he ran away. He was scared to death.
That's funny. There was also an audio segment here that I don't believe was on this presentation that Dee created for the presentation on his desktop, but where he verified that he could copy a 20-meter station using his ham radio. So you almost had the opportunity on his slide deck to hear his voice coming out of the radio on 20 meters.
I assume he transmitted in AM, right?
Oh, yeah.
I would hope so.
I tried that. It was on sideband initially, and the quality was just a little terrible.
Yeah.
And then I switched to AM, and it was great.
Cool.
But I had a short video of the sound of the radio, and it really didn't capture the sound anyway. The bass that the thing puts out really didn't come through anyway. So, but my share screen button has appeared. So, thank you. Thank you. You know,
Any other questions?
That whole snafu there reminded me of a dream I had very early this morning. So it fulfilled my fantasies about the train wreck that I would have.
So I have
Go ahead, Glenn.
one more question. What do you figure the total cost was, and how many hours of work?
Hours, yeah.
Cost, I don't know, Dee, was that about 60, 70 bucks?
Something like that, less than 100.
And number of hours, I don't know. I probably have, should have. Unfortunately, I didn't get paid by the hour, so.
You're exempt.
Well, estimate based on a
I
dollar
don't
an
know.
hour wage.
I think this, I must have maybe 8 to 12 hours in this radio.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
You're exempt. We don't pay you by the hour.
That's how long it takes me to unscrew the carriage on my radio.
So the layout of it, or the design of it, it really was made to be this came out before TV, right?
Oh, TV was what, early 40s? Yeah, this is 39. I don't think they had TV.
All right, so
maybe they had it in a laboratory.
Yeah, based on the design, this was really made to be the sort of the entertainment focal piece of the of the living room, really.
And it was
in the corner. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I wonder if it came with a different cabinet if you didn't want to put it in a corner.
Good question.
They made this radio in various forms, and I found when I got the shop manual for it, in fact, the model number had different variants because there was a letter after the model number, and the manual went on to describe what those variants were, and they also had other chassis numbers there on the service manual that were similar. So Yeah, they had a wide variety of these things in all shapes and forms. They made something somewhat equivalent in a tabletop radio that you could put on a small table if you didn't have room for a full cabinet like this. But that's an excellent observation, Tom. I do want to comment, these radios were the entertainment center for the households of the day. If you wanted news, or you wanted to listen to the radio shows that had different stories on them, like The Phantom.
For FDR.
Of the world.
FDR, fireside chats.
Absolutely. Everybody gathered around in whatever room had the radio, and essentially my wife grew up that way. Before TV, that's exactly what happened in her household, being one of 6.
Who was the original owner? Your grandparents?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure my grandfather had already passed about the time this radio, so it must have been my grandmother. She must have purchased it in probably Watertown, New York. Is where they were. Well, so Rochester is just down the road, and there was, I guess, a lot of cool stuff going on there.
Well, these radios are that, but they're also really a piece of furniture.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Just like console TVs were back in the 50s and 60s and such.
Right. Yeah, if it's going to be in a living room, it needed to look good. So very nice.
So is the next project to Wi-Fi enable it?
Only at the top.
They're going to add both speakers, I think.
Blasphemy! Blasphemy! So I assume you can pick up the local AM radio stations, right, Pete?
Oh yeah.
I actually had that short recording, and I had a hard time avoiding talk radio. I didn't want to be political, so
right.
Ended up with some pretty bad music.
Well, you can listen to the Rays on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
That's it.
Very nice.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Yeah, that was great, guys.
Brings back the old memories.
That was very, very, very good presentation, Alan.
Hopefully the
Thank
young
you.
people stuck around.
You guys did a real
I'm
good
still
job.
here.
Yeah, we did.
He said young.
And you guys
Yeah,
did a real good job.
Making them listen to this would be considered cruel and unusual punishment. So they'd, or that was their only radio or a source of information.
Yeah. No
You
hand.
can put a little Raspberry Pi in there and do all kinds of things.
I want to go with an SDR.
There you go.
I was gonna say, Tom Schaefer says we can't use that radio. It doesn't have a USB port.
No, you can put a little SDR in that beautiful cabinet. I'm sure somebody has done that to say, hey, I'll take the nice cabinet and put a
Yeah, plenty of room in there.
yeah. Wouldn't that be funny to see a before and after of everything and the little SDR sitting in the middle of it with nothing else in the cabinet except a speaker?
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Don't do that, D. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, your grandmother would be very proud of you, D.
Yeah.
You can always interface those push buttons with the digital inputs on a Pi or something and make it be exactly the same external.
Exactly.
Well, excellent. So that was a terrific presentation, guys. And anybody has any ideas, feel free to let me know. We need something for April. So give us a buzz. So that's all I have for the meeting. Our next meeting is on April 3rd. If you want to get text alerts from us, text UPark to 84483. We will not blow up your phone since we have to pay for those. We send some limited text messages if you want them that way. We're also doing Slack, and we'll be trying to do some YouTube and Twitter things later on, just to have more social media options. Does anybody have anything else before we call the meeting to an end?
Question. I noticed you're recording this. Where is that kept?
Well, that was one of the, we haven't done it yet, but that was one of the topics we were talking about for YouTube, was to have a YouTube channel where we could start, putting the meeting recordings, I believe. So we'll have to get that set up and put out there.
There's only one other thing I wanted to mention, somewhat belatedly. I know that I was informed by at least two individuals that there's a sideband contest today. I don't have the details. I think both Glenn and Tom did. Tom, did you send? I think you sent out an email to that effect to the Aardvarks.
I don't think, no, that was Tom CU, but I think the ARLDX is today, I think, this weekend through Sunday night at 7.
And that is a sideband contest, is it not?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if anybody was interested, I guess you could find that information on the web.
Yeah, there'll be lots of DX on looking to work US stations on this. Let me just double check real quick that I have the right weekend. I don't want to give people the wrong information.
Yes, it is this weekend.
That's this week. The sideband is this weekend, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes.
So I guess even if we're not planning on participating, we should tune in, I guess, on Sunday.
Oh, no, it's right now. It started at 7 o'clock on Friday night. So it's 7 o'clock, 48-hour contest. Yeah, it's right now.
Okay, cool. So the
right
bands
now,
should be jumping.
Through Sunday at 7 p.m.
I got about 42 contacts between last night and tonight working,
All right.
barefoot.
Yeah,
so-
I'll probably play around with some today.
Okay, that's all I had, Jack.
And that's all I have.
Good seeing everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining. I don't know, sometimes we hang around and chit chat afterwards. Sometimes we don't. Just depends on who's hanging out. So.
Hey, Steve, I wanted to ask you, that radio that you brought to a meeting I don't know, must be a year or so ago, that it was kind of an antique radio. Is that functioning?